Good morning, everyone. So, as discussed before, there are four special senses: eye for vision, ear for hearing, nose for smell, and the tongue for taste. Okay, so we have seen about the nose, okay, and the tongue, the respiratory, and the GIT modules. So, we will be discussing about the eye and ear. Okay, so today we will be seeing about the eye, and in the next class we will be talking about the ear. Okay, the eye, it's like it's a spherical structure and is frequently referred to as the eyeball. And these are your objectives. And here you can see the outermost part of the eye. Okay, it's called the sclera, the white colored portion which we see. Okay, the white colored portion, which is here, it is blue colored. Okay, that's the sclera. Okay, it's called the sclera. Now the sclera, if you trace it towards the anterior part, okay, over the black part, which is the pupil, there is a transparent membrane. This transparent means it allows the light to pass through, just like glass, like a window shield. Okay, so it allows the light to pass through. So this part of the eye, it's called as cornea. Okay, so cornea is a continuation of the sclera. Okay, but sclera is opaque. Opaque means it does not allow light. Okay, whereas cornea is transparent. Transparent means it allows light. So whatever we see, it comes through the cornea. It comes through the cornea. Okay, the next layer, which is inside the sclera, it is called as a choroid layer. Okay, it is called the choroid layer. Okay, it is dark in color mainly because of the blood vessels which are present in them. Okay, so there are blood vessels present in the choroid. And if you see anteriorly, the choroid, it is modified. There are some modified structures which are called as ciliary process and ciliary body. Okay, ciliary process and ciliary body. And there is an extension of this ciliary process. Okay, and this is called as the iris. Okay, iris. Iris is the one which helps, okay, which helps in identifying certain people. Okay, like some people, they will have blue eyes, brown eyes, black eyes. Okay, not by means of contact lens, by birth. Okay, so they would be having by birth like different types of eye. Okay, so we'll say like gray eyes, um, black eyes, brown eyes. Okay, so that's because of the color of the iris. Okay, that's nothing but the color of the iris. Okay, so the iris, ciliary body, and ciliary process are extensions of the choroid layer. Okay, so they are the extensions of the choroid layer. Next to the choroid layer, okay, inner to the choroid layer, there is another layer which is shown by the yellow colored structure here, and that's called as the retina. Okay, it's called as the retina. Okay, so retina is a pigmented layer. Okay, and it is composed of large number of nerves. Okay, it contains a large number of nerves. So whenever the vision comes, the vision passes first through the cornea. Okay, then between the two iris, this is called as pupil. Okay, pupil. Okay, pupil. So it passes through the cornea, pupil, and then it goes and falls into the retina. Okay, in the retina, the visual images are processed and then they are sent through the nerve, the cranial nerve. Which cranial nerve? The second cranial nerve, optic nerve. So it passes through the optic nerve and then it goes to the brain. Which area of the brain? The occipital lobe, visual area. Okay, so we have seen that, right? So it goes to the visual area of the cerebral cortex. Okay, so where we can understand what we are seeing. Okay, so The first one, this is the cornea, pupil, which is located between the two iris, and then it falls into the retina. Okay, any doubts in this one?
Doctor, which one the transparent and which one the opaque?
The sclera is opaque, the blue colored portion, it's opaque, whereas this part, the cornea, is transparent. Okay, the cornea is transparent. Okay,
Yes, thank you, doctor.
all right. So here I just described the same thing. Sclera, it is modified anteriorly as cornea. The choroid, the extensions are modified into iris, and the choroid apparatus. The spelling is wrong. Okay, just change it. CHOR. Okay, the same spelling. Choroid apparatus, which is composed of ciliary body and ciliary process. Between the two iris is the pupil, and behind the pupil is the lens. Okay. Now here, this is all the other structures together. Okay, you need not know all the structures, but at least remember the ones which we have seen. Okay, so we have seen about the sclera. Okay, we have seen choroid. We have seen retina. Okay, sclera, choroid, and retinal layer. Okay, then in the anterior part, we have seen the ciliary body. We have seen the pupil which is located between the two iris. Okay, we have seen the cornea. Okay, then the lens, we have seen the lens. Okay, so you can see the lens is located behind the pupil. Okay, it is located behind the pupil. Okay, the lens in human eyes is different from the lens which is present in the cameras. Okay, so in what ways it is different? The lens can change its focal length by itself. Okay, say for example, if you want to change the eye power. Okay, so in the eye power, what they use, they put different types of lens, right? So they will give you different powers of lens. Okay, to adjust the to make the vision clear. Okay, but naturally, okay, what happens is the lens, it adjusts the focal length by itself. Okay, it adjusts the focal length by itself. So that's why many people, they need not have specs. Okay, so they need not have specs. Okay, so for some persons there can be a delay, so there could be a problem. Okay, because of this adjustment, and that's why the because of overstraining. Okay, and maybe because of some other pathology, so there could be changes, and as a result they may need to wear the glasses. Okay, so the lens, it can alter its focal length by itself. How does it alter its focal length? It can alter the focal length by means of the ciliary body and ciliary process. Okay, by ciliary body and ciliary process. And behind, you can see the choroid, retina, and here you can see the optic nerve. Okay, the optic nerve. Okay, which is through which the visual impulses go into the brain. So if you know these structures, it is enough. Okay, sclera, choroid, retina, iris, cornea, pupil, lens, ciliary body, optic nerves. Okay, so if you know these structures, this is fine. Now, you know that what can you see in this picture? It's called as pupillary reflex. Have you observed this reflex? If you make, yes. So if you ask a friend, okay, you can just test your family members or anybody. Okay, so darken the room a little bit, okay, and shine a light, okay, shine a light, okay, into their eyes. Okay, so in the dark room, if you see the pupil, so this one is the iris. Okay, so this one This one is the iris. Okay, and this one is the pupil. Okay, when a person is there in the dark room, okay, say where the light is not much, okay, so what happens, the pupil is actually big. Okay, so in the dark room or in the night, okay, or when the lights are dim, the pupil is large. Why the pupil is large? Because there has to be more image which should fall in the retina so that the person can understand where is he, okay, or what are the things he can see. Okay, now if you throw a light, you can see that the pupil is constricting. Okay, pupil is constricting. Okay, now why the pupil is constricting? Okay, that is, it is becoming small, the pupil is becoming small. Okay, so why it is becoming small? Okay, so or in other times, like whenever a person goes, okay, from the if you could imagine, if you are coming out in the afternoon, okay, in the summer, okay, from the car, and then you enter into the room, okay, suddenly you will feel like it's black. Okay, it will take at least 2 or 3 seconds for you to accommodate. Okay, why there is this delay? So that's because in a bright light, okay, when a bright light is thrown into the eye, or when the person walks in a bright daylight, okay, so what happens is the pupils constrict because only a small amount of light is enough to understand what the person is seeing. Just like in your cameras, okay, in your cameras what happens, you will reduce the focus, right? So you will reduce the aperture. Okay, otherwise it will be looking like an overexposed picture. Okay, so in a daylight the pupil is constricted. When a light is thrown into the eye, the pupil is constricted. Okay, and in the night or in a dark place, the pupil is dilated. Okay, so this is called as pupillary reflex. This is called as pupillary reflex. Now how this is happening? Okay, how can the pupil change its size, change its aperture? Okay, so it's becoming big and then small. Okay, dilatation, constriction. So how can it do this? Because there are certain muscles in the iris. Okay, so there are certain muscles in the iris which helps in constricting and dilating the pupil. The one which constricts the pupil is called as constrictor pupillae, and the one which dilates, it's called as dilator pupillae. And both these muscles, they are controlled by these are called as ciliary muscles, and they are controlled by the ciliary nerves. Okay, you can just remember these ones: the long ciliary nerve and short ciliary nerve. Both are branches from the oculomotor nerve. Okay, they receive branches from the oculomotor nerve. Okay, and as well as the ophthalmic nerve. Okay, so they will be receiving branches from the oculomotor and ophthalmic nerves. So here you can see the long ciliary nerve and the short ciliary nerve. They help in constricting and dilating the pupil. Okay, constricting and dilating the pupil. All right. Any doubts? Okay. Now coming to this part, what do you see here? Here you can see that the pupil is, what happened to the pupil? Pupil is constricted. Okay, or otherwise you can say that this is a pinpoint pupil. Okay, pinpoint pupil. Okay, and the pupil is not reacting to light. Okay, pinpoint pupil, or it is vaguely reacting to light. Okay, so this, why this is important, this pupillary reflex is very important to identify certain conditions. Okay, especially in persons who come with coma. Okay, say a farmer, okay, was suddenly he fell into coma, and then he's brought into the hospital. Okay, and then you know that the doctors, they check the eyes. Okay, so why they look into the eyes? So they look into the eyes for various reasons. One of the reason is to find out if there is a pinpoint pupil which might indicate that the person is that could, it could be because of a poison. Okay, it could be because of poisons and insecticides. You know, the farmers, they use insecticides, right, to destroy the insects. Okay, so that could be a poison. Okay, and that can affect them, and they can suddenly fall into coma. So this pinpoint pupil. Okay, so there are various conditions for this pinpoint pupil, and one of the condition is poisoning. Okay, there is another one which is called as fixed pupil, fixed and non-reactive pupil. Okay, so here you have seen a reacting pupil. Okay, when you throw the light, the pupil is constricting and then dilating. If the pupil is not responding, if it is a fixed pupil, even if you throw light, the pupil should constrict. But if it is not constricting, okay, it's called as fixed non-reactive pupil. Okay, so that is, there are many conditions for this, and one of the condition is death, brain death. Okay, one of the condition is brain death. Okay, so you know that some of the persons, they will not respond. Okay, so how to find out whether the person is alive or is dead? Okay, sometimes, okay, the pulse might be weak. Okay, so the heart may be a little bit muffled. Okay, so we cannot say like whether the person is alive or dead. Or sometimes, like what happens, the person can be put on heart lung machine ventilators. Okay, so he can be on ventilators, his heart and lungs might be functioning. Okay, but his brain will not be functioning. So how will we know that the person, the brain is functioning? So this is one of the tests to find out whether the person's brain is alive, okay, or it is dead. So that's why there is a term which is called as brain dead. Okay, so in which the person, though he is alive, okay, so there is heart and the lungs, they can work, okay, but his brain doesn't work. So that's called as brain dead. So in those persons only, they might ask for organ donations. So they are the ones who can contribute, who can give for organ donations. All right. So this is pupillary reflex is a very important point which you need to know. Okay, which is done by the ciliary muscles. Okay, and the nerves which are involved are the long and short ciliary nerves. Okay, they both constrict and dilate the pupil. All right, any doubts?
No, doctor, it's clear.
Okay, coming to the next part, extraocular muscles. Okay, extraocular. Ocular means eye muscles. Extraocular means the muscles which are located outside the eyeball. The muscles which are located outside the eyeballs. Okay, so now if you see the eye, okay, compared to the other animals, in humans, we are able to move only the eyeball. Okay, you can keep your head fixed, okay, and you can move only your eyeball. You can look up with your head fixed, you can just look up, you can look down on the floor, you can look at your nose, or you can look on either sides. Okay, now how is this possible? That's because of these extraocular muscles. The eye, if you see, it is located in the orbit, in the skull, and surrounding the orbit there is a large amount of fat, which is called as periorbital fat. Okay, periorbital fat. Why it is being surrounded by the fat? Because it needs protections. Okay, so when we jog, okay, so when we keep a constant movement of ourselves, so the eyeball should not keep on wobbling around, okay, each time we walk. Okay, so it should be in a cushioned position. Okay, so it is kept in the orbit surrounded by the fat, and this fat is also important and is one of the signs for it is rich in water as well as in fat. Okay, and that's why in persons who are dehydrated, okay, dehydration, dehydration, right? So when there is low water in our body, okay, especially after a person who has a frequent diarrhea or vomiting, what happens when the water content in our body is very less? They will have sunken eyes. It looks as if their eyes have gone inside. Okay, so that's because the water content is less, okay, in the periorbital fat. Okay, so the periorbital fat, okay, so they help in keeping the eyeball in the normal position. So here you can see what is here. Here the periorbital fat is more. Okay, what happens if the periorbital fat is more? The fat is more and it will push the eyeball outside. Okay, it will push the eyeball outside. Okay, so this is one of the conditions which you can see in thyroid. Okay, in thyroid. Okay, you know the thyroid gland, right? So if the thyroid gland secretes its hormone, more number of hormones, okay, the quantity of the thyroxine. Okay, the thyroxine is the hormone secreted by the thyroid. Okay, and if they start secreting more of thyroxine, okay, so the periorbital fat, they increase, and when the periorbital fat increases, it appears as if the eyeball is protruding out. Okay, eyeball is protruding out. Okay, now let's see the muscles. So there are four rectus muscles, two oblique muscles, and there is another one separate special muscle which is for the eyelid. Okay, so we will see all these muscles together now. Okay, all the muscles, the extraocular muscles, they arise from this part of the orbit. You can see this is the orbit. The posterior part of the orbit, this blue color, this is called as the common tendinous origin. All the extraocular muscles will be arising from here except for the inferior oblique. Okay, except for inferior oblique. You can see there are four rectus: superior rectus, inferior rectus, medial rectus, lateral rectus. Okay, the oblique, there is only superior oblique and inferior oblique. Okay, so all the extraocular muscles except for inferior oblique, they will be arising from here. Okay, and by the way, the extraocular muscles means only these ones, the rectus and the oblique. They are the ones which is called as the extraocular muscles. Okay, recti and the oblique muscles. So all the muscles, they will be arising from the common tendinous origin except for the inferior oblique. Okay, now here you can see from above the skull is removed, the brain is also removed. Okay, and here they made an opening, okay, on the top of the eyeball. So this is the eyeball. Okay, and here you can see a straight muscle which is called as superior rectus. Okay, superior rectus. So this is the medial side where the nose is present. So this one is the medial rectus and this one is the lateral rectus. So superior rectus, medial rectus, lateral rectus. Where is the inferior rectus? The inferior rectus we are unable to see because it is present below. Okay. Now what happens when this muscle contracts? When the superior rectus contracts, what happens? It pulls the eyeball up. Okay, it pulls the eyeball up. So what happens? The person will start to look at above. Okay, so here, just a second. Just a second. Yes, I was looking for this one. Okay, so this is superior rectus. So what happens if superior rectus constricts? The person looks up. Okay, it person looks up. So which muscle is contracting here? It is the superior rectus. Now the person is looking laterally. Okay, the person looks laterally. So which muscle is contracting? The lateral rectus. Okay, the lateral rectus. Okay, now the person looks down. So which muscle is contracting? The inferior rectus. And now medially, so which muscle? Medial rectus. Okay, so these are the different muscles and their actions. So superior rectus, lateral rectus, inferior rectus, medial rectus. Okay, medial rectus. Now the other muscles. Let me come back here. The superior oblique muscle. Okay, the superior oblique muscle. Now this is quite difficult for you to identify. I will just show you like where are the structure. So this is the anterior portion. Okay, so this is the anterior portion and this is the superior rectus. Okay, okay, this is the lateral part and this is the medial part. Okay, now in the medial part, above the medial rectus, there is a muscle. Okay, so there is a muscle above the medial rectus. This is called as, see, you can see this muscle, it is going straight, but then here it takes a U-turn and then it gets attached here. Okay, it goes straight. So you can see that it goes straight and then here it takes a U-turn and then it comes here. Okay, it takes a U-turn and then it comes. Okay. All right, so here you can see this muscle is the superior oblique. Okay, the superior oblique. The inferior oblique, it is arising from the base of the orbit. Okay, you can see this is the orbit from below, the inferior oblique. Okay, these muscles are not straight. Okay, and what happens when the superior oblique and the inferior oblique, if they contract? You can see the inferior oblique here. Okay, going and getting attached to the back of the eyeball. When the superior oblique contracts, the person looks downwards and medially. Okay, he looks downwards. When the superior oblique muscle contracts, the person looks downwards and medially. Okay, whereas when the inferior oblique contracts, the person looks upwards and medially. Okay, say for example, you are walking down the stairs. Okay, you are walking down the stairs with your head straight. Okay, keeping your head straight, you are not bending your neck. Okay, you are not bending your neck, you are keeping your head straight. Okay, how do you know that there is stairs? Okay, you will look down. Okay, downwards and medially. Okay, you will look downwards and medially. Okay, the other thing is looking towards your nose. Okay, so that's the action of superior oblique. Okay, the other one, inferior oblique. Okay, so that is looking upwards and medially. Okay, when you are seriously thinking about something. Okay, so you tend to look upwards and medially. So that's the contraction of inferior oblique. So these are the functions of the superior and the inferior oblique. Okay, so the superior oblique, they help in moving the eyeball upwards. Inferior oblique, They help in moving the eyeball downwards. I'm so sorry. Superior rectus helps in moving the eyeball upwards. Inferior rectus helps in moving the eyeball downwards. Medial rectus helps in moving the eyeball medially, and lateral rectus helps in moving the eyeball laterally. Okay, so these are the four rectus muscles: superior upwards, inferior downwards, medial medially, lateral laterally. Coming to the oblique muscle, superior oblique. The superior oblique, when it contracts, the eyeball moves downwards and medially. When the inferior oblique contracts, the eyeball moves upwards and medially. Okay, superior, downwards and medially. Okay, like walking down the stairs. Okay, and inferior oblique is upwards and medially. Okay, the next muscle, which is the levator palpebrae superioris. What is this huge muscle name? Levator means elevation. Okay, elevation. Palpebrae means the eyelid. Eyelid. Okay, you know the eyeball is covered by eyelids. There is an upper eyelid and lower eyelid. Okay, so there is levator palpebrae. Palpebrae means the eyelid. So which eyelid? The superior eyelid. So there is a muscle which is present in the upper eyelid, which is the levator palpebrae superioris. Levator palpebrae superioris. So when this muscle contracts, what happens? We open up the eye. Okay, so when you are sleeping and then you suddenly wake up, what happens when you open up the eyes? So the opening of the eyes is done by the levator palpebrae superioris. Okay, levator palpebrae superioris. Now all these muscles are supplied by the oculomotor nerve. Okay, except for superior oblique and the lateral rectus. Okay, except for superior oblique and the lateral rectus. So all these muscles, okay, so the superior rectus, inferior rectus, medial rectus, not the lateral rectus, not the superior oblique. Okay, the inferior rectus. So inferior rectus or inferior oblique, medial rectus, inferior rectus, superior rectus. All these are supplied by the oculomotor nerve or the third cranial nerve, including the levator palpebrae superioris. Okay, levator palpebrae superioris is also supplied by the oculomotor nerve. Okay, except for superior oblique. The superior oblique is supplied by the fourth cranial nerve. What is the fourth cranial nerve? Trochlear. Okay, trochlear nerve. Okay, and the lateral rectus is supplied by the sixth nerve. What is the sixth nerve? Abducent nerve. Okay, abducent nerve. Okay, so superior rectus, inferior rectus, medial rectus, lateral rectus. Okay, then superior oblique and inferior oblique. Okay, superior oblique downwards and medially, inferior oblique upwards and medially. Levator palpebrae superioris helps in opening the eyelid. All are supplied by oculomotor except for superior oblique and lateral rectus. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, doctor.
Okay, so this is actually too much, but you need to know all these things. Okay, so the eyeball is very important, you know, the vision is very important. Okay, so that's why I'm going in detail about the muscles and the nerves which supply them. Okay, the muscles and nerves. Okay, so that's very important. So those are the extraocular muscles. Now let's see the eyelids. So this was the one which we were saying, levator palpebrae superioris. Levata means elevation, palpebrae means conjunctiva, and superioris. They are present above the superior rectus. Okay, so you can see the superior rectus here. Just above the superior rectus, the levator palpebrae superioris is present. Okay, the levator palpebrae superioris is present above the superior rectus. So the main action of levator palpebrae superioris is opening of the eyelid. Okay, so the opening of the eyelid is by the levator palpebrae superioris. Okay, and it's supplied by the third cranial nerve, which is the oculomotor nerve. Now, closure of the eyelids. Okay, when you want to go to sleep. Okay, so how do you close the eye? Okay, close the eyeball. So the eyelids is closes. Okay, so and what is the muscle which helps in closing of the eyelids? It is orbicularis oculi. Okay, orbicularis oculi. So this is a muscle which helps in closing the eyelids. Okay, the closing the eyelids. For example, when you go to sleep. Okay, or when we blink our eyes. Okay, so that's because of the orbicularis oculi. And what is the nerve supply for this orbicularis oculi? It is the seventh cranial nerve. What is the seventh cranial nerve? Facial nerve. Okay, the facial nerve. All right, so these are the two muscles which helps in opening and closure of the eyelids. Opening by levator palpebrae superioris and closure is by the orbicularis oculi. Okay, the nerve supply for levator palpebrae is oculomotor, the third cranial nerve, and the orbicularis oculi, it is the seventh cranial nerve, which is the facial nerve. Now, in this picture, this is the picture showing the eyelid. Okay, so here you can see the lens. Okay, the ciliary body, the iris. Okay, but this is mainly to show the eyelid. Okay, so in the eyelid, what are the structures you need to see? You can see the location of the orbicularis oculi muscle. Okay, orbicularis oculi muscle. All right, any doubts? The other things are not needed. Okay, so just remember the orbicularis oculi, so which is supplied by the facial nerve, they help in closure of the eyelid. Okay, so this is a gland. Okay, you know that the eyeball is surrounded by a large number of glands. Okay, you can see a large number of sebaceous glands, tarsal glands, which is also called as meibomian glands. Okay, lacrimal glands, apocrine glands. No need to know, but just remember that there are a large number of glands which are present in the eyelid. Okay, which are present in the eyelid, and what happens? It is very sensitive. Okay, and sometimes it might be infected. Okay, it can get infected and can lead on to a pustule. Okay, sometimes even if like sometimes because of stress or keeping awake for a long time, okay, sleeplessness, so that can also cause a tiring eye. Okay, and as a result there could be a gland which may be inflamed. Okay, so this is because of one of those glands which is getting inflamed, okay, in the eye. Okay, in the eye. Okay, the next one is the lacrimal gland. Okay, the lacrimal gland and the orbit we will see in the next class. Okay, because I think it is too much. Okay, so in today's class, you know about the orbit, the eyeball, the three layers of the eyeball, the sclera choroid and the retina, the iris and the pupil. Where is the lens located? Okay, the dilatation and constriction of the pupil. What does the pinpoint pupil, what does it mean? What does a fixed non-reactive pupil, what does it mean? The extraocular muscles, the 4 rectus muscles and the 2 oblique muscles, and the levator palpebrae superioris, their action and the nerve supply. Okay, their origin, all muscles origin from the common tendon except for the inferior oblique. The eyelids, opening done by levator palpebrae and closure is by the orbicularis oculi. Okay, and the corresponding nerves which supply them. All right, and this is the orbicularis oculi. And in case if these glands, the eyelid glands, they are inflamed, they can lead on to some inflammation of the eyelids. It's called a stye. Okay, the stye. Okay, so whenever the person is stressed, he is unable to sleep. Okay, for days together, so this can occur. Okay, which is nothing but an inflammation of the eyelid. All right. The other ones we will see in your next class, which will be on the next Sunday. All right. Any doubts?
No, doctor.
No, doctor, thank you.